We are going to take another look at how a house is built today. How a House is Built, written and illustrated by Gail Gibbons. And we're going to take a look at some different things, like some ways to access complex text by classifying and categorizing things. And good readers can organize information and see how things are alike, and to make connections and to remember details when they classify and categorize. We're also going to take a look at sequencing. This is a really good selection to choose for sequencing. Paying attention to the order in which events in a story take place are important. And this story in particular starts from the very beginning of laying the foundation for a house to when the house actually becomes a home. So it follows sequence, order, time order. We're also going to take a look at some things that the writers use, like illustrations. The pictures in an explanatory text help to represent ideas or information. So we're going to take another look at the illustrations in this text, and we're also going to take a look at the setting. Now remember, the setting is where the action in a story happens, is where the action happens. So we're going to take a look at setting again today. All right, let's take a look. Many people live in houses. There are many kinds of houses. They are built with different materials. Houses are built in many shapes and sizes too. Now, this is a good time to stop and classify and categorize. As we read, we can think about ways we can group details together by how they are alike. And the author presents several ways to group different kinds of houses at the beginning. One way you can classify and categorize these details is by the different kinds of materials that are used to build the houses. So we can also categorize them by maybe shape or size too. This is how a wooden frame house is built. First, an architect draws plans. The architect recommends a general contractor who will be in charge of building the house. During the months ahead, the general contractor will hire all these people to complete the project. The general contractor makes sure everything is done according to schedule. And I think this is a good time to stop and talk about illustrations. In an explanatory text, the illustrations help explain something about the text. And on these pages, we see a lot of people standing around. And these are the people that will be working to build the house. And they include heavy equipment operators, carpenters, and painters. And they do all the work at some time. The heavy equipment operators come rumbling up the road. They dig a hole where the foundation will go. The foundation will support the weight of the house. Here comes the carpenter crew. Out come their tools. They bolt down boards, called the sill, to the top of the foundation. Then they hammer heavier boards, called joists, into place. The carpenters nail sheets of plywood to the joists, making what is called a deck. It is the floor of the house. Next, they begin to frame the house. They study the architect's plans. They saw pieces of wood to their correct sizes. They nail together an outside wall of the house. The carpenter crew pushes the wall up and nails it into place. Another wall goes up and another. Now the carpenters frame in the roof. Roof rafters are nailed to the ridge boards. Soon the framing of the house will be complete. They begin to enclose the house by nailing sheets of plywood to the outside of the frame. This is called sheathing. Then they saw out the spaces for the windows and doors. Felt paper is nailed to the outside of the plywood to keep moisture out. Okay, now this is where we're going to stop, because as we read all the way through page 53, we can really see how the author is sequencing the events on how to build a house. And as we read, we learn all the steps that the workers use to build the house. The author carefully tells us the steps in order in which they happen, and he chooses words such as then, next to, to connect each step and help make that sequence clear. The first step is to dig a hole and build the foundation. Next, the carpenters bolt boards down to the foundation. Then the carpenters build a deck or floor of the house. Next, the finished floors are nailed down. Windows and doors are trimmed. The painters paint the walls. For many months, this has been a very busy place. At last, the work is done. Now the house is ready to become a home. And this is a good time to stop and talk about setting. As we look at the author's attention to setting, we look at where all the action is being described in the selection where the action takes place. We can look at the illustrations as well in the text. And in this selection, we see the house looks like houses in our neighborhood. The materials are similar to materials used in houses in our house. So, what do you think the setting is? I think the setting is right here in this house that they're building from the ground up. That's the setting where the house is. Before you go, I do want to find your vocabulary word. There it is. This is the word bolt. Bolt. They bolt down boards called the sill to the top of the foundation. Let's take a look at bolt.
Bolt. To fasten with a metal rod and nuts. The workers bolt the tracks. They fasten the tracks with metal rods and nuts. Bolt.
All right. To bolt something means to fasten it with a metal rod and nuts. So they probably use this heavy material, that metal rod and the nuts, to make sure that it is very sturdy. Remember our word sturdy, to make sure that it's nice and sturdy and that the house has a good foundation. All right.